Hey everybody, Rubber Mold Man here with a quick video with a few reminders when it comes to winter weather and working in concrete statuary. A lot of people need to keep making statuary during the cold winter months so that they have their stock made up for the spring. That's what we always had to do with our family business, and it's not always very enjoyable working in cold weather, but you can still produce statuary. There's just a few tips to remember. First of all, you do not have to have a super warm, toasty work area. Ideally, you want to keep it at least 60 degrees, but that's not absolutely necessary. The main key is do not let your freshly cast statuary go below freezing. The freezing temperatures will cause the moisture in the mix to expand and can possibly weaken, even possibly destroy the pieces that you just cast. So you want to keep it above freezing at the very least. Again, ideally 60 degrees and above is the norm for being able to remove it from the molds within 24 hours or so. But if it is below that, as long as it's above freezing, you might need to give it an extra day or so for curing, but you should be fine. There are a couple of simple tricks though to assist in the producing of statuary during the winter months. You can warm up the mix. Now the easiest way to do this is just using hot water in your mix. That's what I always did. Hot water, quick easy fix. By the time you add your cement and sand, gravel and that, it'll probably be about room temperature in that, but it'll really assist in it setting up quicker. The other trick people have used over the years is they use something called calcium chloride. Now this is a little compound. A lot of times it's used for de-icing. Farmers will use it sometimes, put in their tractor tires and that to keep it from freezing. It's just a chemical that when added to water, it kind of melts away and will warm up the water. So you can look into that. Now, the one bad thing about that is if you use too much, it will severely weaken the concrete and cause splits and cracks. So you have to use just a little bit in the water, melt it down into the water, and then add it to your mix. One of the good things about calcium chloride, for whatever reason, it always seemed to make the concrete finish kind of smooth and shiny, at least a little bit compared to your standard mixes. But again, you have to kind of practice with that and see, because you just want to add maybe a cup or so to one whole mix, because it can be detrimental if you use too much of it. I personally recommend using hot water because you can't really go wrong there. Now, as far as keeping your molds warm, let's say you're working in a garage that doesn't have good heat. You could get a space heater just to keep the temperature up just a little bit. Sometimes I use just old heat lamps like this. I'll grab these and just hang a couple above where the molds are. Not so close that it's going to burn, you know, if it's a latex rubber mold, for instance, you don't want it to risk hurting the mold. But usually these will provide just enough heat so that there's no freezing and your molds will be safe overnight until the next day. But that's really about it. Now keep in mind, your molds themselves can freeze no matter what the material is. Now I mainly work in latex rubber molds like you see behind me there. Latex rubber can freeze. It doesn't hurt it. It will make it stiff and hard to work with, so you will have to warm them up before you can actually use them. But if you're storing them for the winter or not going to be working with them for a few days and it ends up freezing, as long as it's not fresh cement that's in them, there's no problem. And also, if they happen to be frozen and there is cured statues within the molds, they can actually go a little bit longer when they're frozen. When it's hot, you got to remove them within a few days or else that rubber starts to stick. The mold release doesn't work as good. When they're frozen, you can actually go a little longer, but again, it's best to remove them before too long just to be safe. So that's really it. Just remember, cold weather does not have to stop you from casting statuary. Use hot water if need be, calcium chloride if you wish to do that. And most importantly, do not let your fresh mix freeze while it is still curing for the first 24 or so hours. Hopefully keep your workshop above freezing temperatures at all time if possible, but don't let that mix freeze. So that's it for now. Hope to see you soon. Have a good day.